Nzinga, Queen of Warriors, the birth of a legend. In the early 17th century, deep in the heart of Central Africa, a remarkable leader was born. Her name was Nzinga, a princess destined to become one of the most powerful and revered figures in African history. Nzinga was born into the royal family of the Kingdom of Ndongo, located in what is now modern day Angola. Her father, Ngola Kiluanji Kiasamba, was the king of Ndongo, a proud and mighty kingdom that had for generations resisted the encroachment of Portuguese colonizers. From an early age, Nzinga displayed a sharp intellect, a strong will, and an unyielding spirit. She was not like other girls of her time, who were expected to stay in the background. Instead, Nzinga spent her childhood learning the arts of warfare, diplomacy, and statecraft. Her father recognized her potential and often took her to important meetings, where she observed the complexities of governance and the subtle nuances of negotiation rise to power. The kingdom of Ndongo was under constant threat from Portuguese forces who sought to expand their influence and control over the region. The Portuguese wanted access to the kingdom's rich resources, especially its human capital, as the transatlantic slave trade was in full force. The Portuguese allied with local rival kingdoms and waged a brutal war against Ndongo, attempting to capture and enslave its people. Nzinga's older brother, Mbandi, ascended to the throne after their father's death. However, he lacked the leadership qualities and strategic mind that Nzinga possessed. The kingdom was in turmoil, facing both internal strife and external pressure. The Portuguese demanded tribute, including slaves, and Mbandi's inability to manage these demands put the entire kingdom at risk. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Nzinga took it upon herself to act. She sought an audience with the Portuguese governor to negotiate a peace treaty. When she arrived at the meeting, she was confronted with a calculated insult. No chair was provided for her. Unfazed, Nzinga instructed one of her attendants to kneel on the ground, creating a makeshift throne from which she conducted the negotiations. This act of defiance and dignity left a lasting impression on the Portuguese. Through skillful diplomacy, Nzinga secured a temporary peace treaty, but she knew this would not be enough to ensure the safety and sovereignty of her people. Shortly after, Mbandi mysteriously died, and Nzinga claimed the throne. Whether she had a hand in his death remains a subject of debate, but what is certain is that under her rule, Ndongo would never be the same. Queen Nzinga, the warrior leader as queen, Nzinga quickly established herself as a formidable leader. She restructured the military, forging alliances with neighboring kingdoms and strengthening the unity of her people. Nzinga understood that the only way to resist the Portuguese was through a combination of military might and strategic alliances. She welcomed the legacy of Nzinga ruled for over 30 years, becoming a living legend in her time. She died in 1663 at the age of 81, leaving behind a legacy of courage, resilience, and unwavering determination. Even in death, Nzinga's influence continued to shape the history of Angola and the wider region. Her legacy lived on in the memory of her people and in the stories that were passed down through generations. She was remembered not just as a warrior queen, but as a leader who fought for justice and freedom. Nzinga became a symbol of resistance against oppression, a beacon of hope for those who sought to challenge the forces of colonization. In the centuries that followed, Nzinga's story inspired countless freedom fighters across Africa and the African diaspora. Her life was a testament to the power of leadership, the strength of unity, and the enduring spirit of resistance. Nzinga, the Queen of Warriors, remains one of the most iconic figures in African history, a true embodiment of the struggle for freedom and dignity. This story is a celebration of Nzinga's life and achievements, highlighting her role as a leader who defied the odds and fought for her people's freedom with unmatched courage and wisdom. Escaped slaves, refugees, and deserters into her ranks, creating a diverse and resilient army. Nzinga also realized the importance of adapting to the tactics of her enemies. She adopted European military strategies and weapons, training her warriors to fight with both traditional African methods and modern techniques. Under her command, the Ndongo forces became a feared and respected power. But Nzinga's strength was not only in warfare, she was also a master diplomat. She formed an alliance with the Dutch, who were rivals of the Portuguese in the region. Together, they launched a series of successful attacks against Portuguese forts and settlements, severely weakening the colonizers' hold on the region. The battle for freedom. For decades, Nzinga led her people in a fierce struggle for independence. The war was brutal, with both sides suffering heavy losses. The Portuguese, determined to crush Nzinga's resistance, employed every tactic at their disposal, including forming alliances with other African kingdoms against her. But Nzinga's leadership and the loyalty of her people kept the flame of resistance alive. Despite the hardships, Nzinga never lost her resolve. She fought not only for her people's freedom, but for their dignity. She refused to bow to the Portuguese, even when they offered peace deals that would have required her to become a vassal. Nzinga's kingdom became a symbol of defiance against colonialism, inspiring other African leaders to resist European domination. As Nzinga aged, she continued to rule with the same vigor and determination that had characterized her earlier years. She focused on rebuilding her kingdom, fortifying her capital, and ensuring that her people could sustain themselves through agriculture and trade. Nzinga's vision extended beyond the battlefield. She wanted to create a prosperous and independent state that could withstand any external threat.